Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. So we all love mounts in World of Warcraft. They're fun to ride around on, they're fun to collect, it's all good stuff. Of course, when a new expansion comes out, one of the big things everyone wants to know is, what are the new mounts going to be like? This is by no means final. I'm sure more will appear as further beta builds are added, but this is to give you a look at the kind of stuff that we're going to be getting. So first up, we've got the Storm Drake mounts. Now, there are 4 different color variants of this, and if you were to look at the other drakes, it's funny, it's as if they've got Deathwing's chin. Obviously not made of metal, but overall, quite a different design and significantly higher quality than, as an example, the drakes that we would have been getting back in Wrath of the Lich King, which, you know, that and TBC is really where we started to get loads of drakes in the game. I think these look extremely cool. Lore-wise, I'm not going to go super into it. You'll find them in and around Stormheim. There's some really cool lore behind them and some really cool quests, but obviously I'm not going to spoil them here. Suffice to say, I think they'll have a good reason to give you these as kind of like a dungeon reward or maybe a reputation reward, because they're so ingrained with one of the actual kind of groups of people who are chilling out in the Broken Isles. Next, we've got a mount that I've actually just thrown at the start of this video because, frankly, I think it is the coolest one in this entire bunch. It's a fox. You can ride around on a fox. It is very, very cute looking, and once again is I just think a solid piece of proof of Blizzard's absolute mastery of baked-in shading and lighting when it comes to their texture work. I think this thing looks absolutely wonderful. And I've got to wonder, could you get like a fox transmog going on to match with this? This literally is one of my favorite mounts that I've seen so far in Legion. I think it's beautiful, really just full of charm and character, especially in that head. They really have managed to capture kind of a lot of character with that model. And I suppose in a similar vein, we've got a still of the rat mount here. Yep, you're going to be able to ride around on a giant rat because, let's be honest, we've all wanted to do that, haven't we? No, we haven't. This, you know, for a rat, it looks pretty cool. I like the stylized nature of the rat. For some reason, I'm imagining a character from like the Warhammer Fantasy universe riding this thing. I think it looks really cool, though. If I was to choose from a wide variety of animal species, a rat is probably not the one I would want to ride around on. Let's move slightly back into the realms of what we're used to in World of Warcraft with these kind of lightsabery mounts. They are basically just the new big cat in the Broken Isles, and I think we're almost guaranteed that we're going to be getting these as a mount. Indeed, some data files have referenced these being mounts. I know there are no saddles on this, but anyway, let's talk about the mounts themselves, or the models themselves. I think they are really, really, really cool. I don't think there's that much else to say about them. They're very sleek, very well done. Of course, it's a big cat. It makes sense that it's sleek. Looks like it's the kind of thing that could be, you know, sleuthing and stalking. I suppose you can actually see a little bit of the model from the Mystic Runesaber in that. At least that's what I kind of get, so that, I suppose, tells you a little bit about maybe the art creation pipeline, and perhaps they were created at a similar enough time. Still, a really solid addition to the game, and, you know, without a doubt, we'll probably be getting many different recolors of that mount. Next, we've got the extremely cool Demon Hunter mount. From what I gather, this is not going to be available to any other class. I think this is really damn cool looking. You will have seen it in videos of me playing my Demon Hunter. You know, the in-game model's got some really cool lighting effects as well. Overall, I think it's brilliant looking. You've got some really nice shading and detail around the skulls and the kind of bone accents. I think one of the stronger mounts in the roster for sure. Hopefully there is some mount of that style that non-Demon Hunters can get, but of course the Demon Hunter mount does need to remain something that is very unique and special for the Demon Hunters. And I suppose, speaking of Demon Hunters, we've got the Fellbat mount. This is just a big angry bat. You will have seen this as the flight point mount in Mardoom. So that's what that is. Maybe we'll be seeing a few more of them throughout Legion. I think it's pretty cool looking. It's listed in all the different data files as being a mount of some sort, so I expect we will get one of these at some point throughout Legion. I think it's pretty cool looking in that it's a unique looking character, and it itself does have quite a lot of character, especially in around that face, which is very well done, but it's not exactly the kind of thing that I would really want to be rolling around on one of my characters. Now, I had mentioned the Mystic Runesaber earlier, and I suppose we've got one of its relatives here. This is basically a Mystic Hippogriff. It's the almost the exact same style as the Mystic Runesaber. I wonder if that means that it's going to come from the in-game store. I certainly hope it. I hope that's not the case. This kind of looks like something that could maybe fit in Val Shirar, one of the more, well, Night Elfish zones, I suppose. Anyway, onto the model itself. It seems to be reusing the skeleton from the past Hippogriffs, which is maybe a little bit unfortunate. You know, a higher poly count would be nice, but as an example, the Argent Hippogriff is still one of my favorite mounts. So overall, great to see another one, and I just hope that it is something that you unlock in-game. Now, turtles are a kind of mount that they added in Mists of Pandaria as the racial for the Pandaren. I don't think we've got a turtle since. Well, now we've got a turtle. This is a armored turtle mount. It's got a whole bunch of metal plates on it, which looks very cool, and its tail's kind of got like a stegosaurus thing going on with that big metal ball. Overall, very cool looking. I'm not the biggest fan of this particular color variant, and perhaps one of these that was colored in the same way as perhaps the Hunter sort of molten turtle from Hyjal. Something like that would look particularly cool. Still, a solid mount, and hopefully they do some really interesting stuff with the idea of an armored turtle. Of course, you are all probably familiar with the Archimonde Moose. Well, maybe you don't want to have all those magical accents, or maybe, you know, killing Archimonde on Heroic isn't something that's feasibly going to happen. Well, do not despair. There are either 3 or 4 different colors of this particular moose mount. I'm sure there will be some others. It is your basic Legion Moose with a saddle. I think it's very nice looking, actually. The Legion Moose model is really quite wonderful. Again, a lot of, you know, it's very stylized, a lot of character to it. Blizzard are really upping their game these days over a lot of the mounts that they used to do in the past, which is certainly a good thing. Of course, the big concern is, are they going to repeat a Warlords, and is it just going to be recolors and reskins everywhere? Next, we've got this Koto Mountain, and this is a little bit strange. I don't know where this fits into Legion, but this was data mined as being a new thing added in the Legion Alpha, so maybe this is something that I just don't recognize because I've not played that much Horde content. It also does look grossly unfinished. If you look at the texture, though, the texture work itself is pretty decent. Maybe this just needs more in the way of, I don't know, like sort of 3D elements to kind of make it pop a little bit. Yeah, there's definitely the core of something good looking there. They definitely just need to do a little bit more work on it. I've saved the perhaps most oddball one for last. This is the fish mount. Yep, so this is a fish that somebody has strapped a metal harness to. And by the way, a metal saddle on a fish. That really doesn't sound like a very practical idea, but nonetheless, I think it's a very cool mount. It's got a very big, blubbery, silly-looking head, which totally works, you know, stylized, full character, yada, yada, yada. I mean, they are things that apply to just about every Blizzard model these days because they really have managed to up their game over some of their past work. So, overall, a very cool fish mount, obviously because it's a fish. Well, it's either going to be a flying fish, which I very much doubt, or a underwater mount. Now, from what we know, there aren't any underwater zones in Legion. Maybe this would suggest there would be some sort of underwater content in which they would maybe give this to you as a vehicle, or maybe it's just going to be another reward. Certainly, we haven't had underwater mounts since the Seahorses from Vashir, so hey, it's another addition to your underwater roster, and certainly one that does look quite a bit different from the Seahorse. And that's pretty much it for the video. I think they've actually came out with a very, very strong showing here, and I definitely like how they're doing things a little bit different, like giving us a fox mount, giving us a rat mount. Maybe you could construe that as them running out of ideas, but I think they're kind of characterful and a bit wonky, which, and I mean wonky in a good way. Wacky, that's probably the better word. We've got a pretty cool big cat model there. Now that's just the base model. Hopefully we will have different variants of that, which look quite cool. Overall, I think there's some really nice model work here. We do need to wait and see more. Obviously, the big hope is we don't have a repeat of the Warlords of Draenor situation, and of course, there's always concerns with the in-game store. We don't know if any of these mounts that are on display today are going to be on the in-game store or not. I certainly hope not, and again, I certainly hope that the ratio of unique models to sort of in-game store models in Legion is a lot more in the sort of consumer-friendly ballpark than it was with Warlords of Draenor. Anyway, let me know what you thought about these mounts down in the comments. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.